to your radio reading service. Your reader has been Barbara. Thank you for listening.
Hello, this is Donald, and for the next half hour, I'll be reading from the April 20th issue of the Chautauqua Gazette and the Niagara Frontier Radio Reading Service. Make every day Earth Day. The Gazette proudly showcases SUNY Fredonia's environmental efforts. Featured writer Dr. Thomas Hegna, Chair, Geology Environmental Service Department, SUNY Fredonia. Earth Day is a reminder that environmental challenges don't only exist far away. They show up in our own lakes, streams, and groundwater. Students and faculty in the Geology Environmental Sciences Department at SUNY Fredonia are making a difference right here in Western New York. From algae blooms in Chautauqua Lake to repeated water crisis in Fredonia's aging reservoir to local stream health and the search for minerals that will power a clean future, these projects reflect a department's deeply engaged with the community. The students behind this work aren't just learning science, they're doing it in the field and lab on problems their neighbors live with every day. Research on Lake Chautauqua, its algae blooms. Lake Chautauqua's harmful algae blooms threatens water quality. SUNY Fredonia's Dr. Courtney Wiggall Perry and her students are studying the lake to help manage the problem. A key starting point is what happens beneath the surface. When the sun warms the upper layers of the lake, it creates distinct temperature zones that don't really mix, a process called thermal stratification. These layers influence everything from nutrient cycling to algae growth. Former Fredonia student Casey Kendall collected high-frequency temperature data from multiple locations around the lake to map how and when these layers form, helping fill gaps in our understanding of how the lake circulates. What gets added to the water matters just as much. Chloride levels in fresh waters have climbed steadily due to road salt. Former Fredonia student Cameron Finch found through experiments that road salt runoff may harm zooplankton, tiny crustaceans key to the food chain, more than EPA guidelines suggest. As an undergraduate, Finch, who also fossilized diatoms, microscopic algae, persevered in lake mud to reconstruct how environmental conditions in Chautauqua Lake have shifted over time. Current student Sydney Hawkins has been investigating how algae blooms affect beneath algae living on the lake bottom that form the foundations of much of the lake's biodiversity. Hawkins found that a surface blooms intensifies, they block sunlight, suppressing benthic algae growth, especially in the lake's more nutrient-rich south basin. Research on Fredonia's reservoir. Fredonia has faced 10 boil water orders in 3 years. Heavy rainfall stirs sediment in a 140-year-old reservoir, clouding the water and making disinfection difficult. An overhaul could cost $24 million. Sony Fredonia students are studying the reservoir from multiple angles to help the community make better informed decisions. Current student William Daminani, mentored by Gregory Weigel Perry, is reconstructing the reservoir's environmental history using fossilized diatoms in sediment cores. Different diatom species thrive under different water conditions, so they serve a biological record of past changes in water chemistry and temperature. Recent graduate Abigail Roof, mentored by Thomas Hegna, established the first baseline record of zooplankton in the reservoir. She cataloged nearly 33,700 individual zooplankton and identified 9 species, including 2 recognized water quality indicators. Recent graduate Dominic Zimmer, mentored by Matthew Lanning, used X-ray fluorescence spectrometry to trace where the reservoir sediment comes from, reading the chemical fingerprint of the material clouding the water. Together, these 3 projects form a science-based portrait of Fredonia's reservoir for the community. Stream restoration research. A team of Sony Fredonia students, all mentored by Matthew Pertel, has been monitoring 2 key watersheds to track whether restoration efforts are working. Much of the work centered on DeWittville Creek, a tributary of Chautauqua Lake, where a stream bank restoration project installed a boulder wall and in-stream spurs to redirect water flow away from eroding banks. Long-term monitoring of such sites is rare, which is exactly what this team set out to do. Former students Elizabeth Whitham, Abigail Nordell, Gavin Kaminsky, and Hayden Backus, along with the current students James Helper, have each contributed pieces to the picture. Wigham and Nordell measured stream velocity, water discharge, and sediment loads over 2 years. Kaminsky and Backus added data from an unusually dry stretch, finding that finer sediment had been flushed out and the channel may still be adjusting. Helper used GIS to compare the creek's topography across multiple years, finding that water appears to be carving a new channel and erosion is occurring at the base of the boulder wall, suggesting the restoration structures may be redirecting stress rather than eliminating it. Wigham and Nordell also contributed to a broader look at the Chautauqua Creek watershed, the largest tributary feeding lake area. Working with the New York State Department of Environmental Conservation, the team used a soil loss model combined with remote sensing to estimate where the erosion and landslide risk are greatest. Research on critical minerals for a greener future. Wind turbines, solar panels, and EV batteries all require rare earth elements like lithium and neodymium. The U.S. currently relies on foreign sources, creating both security and environmental tensions. Because mining these minerals has its own costs, SUNY Fredonia students are searching for domestic deposits in Western New York and Pennsylvania. Current student Mia Enders, mentored by Went out to a cow, analyzed upper Devion Shale in western New York for signs of critical mineral enrichment. Using X-ray fluorescence spectroscopy, they found elevated concentrations of vanadium, copper, zinc, and the rare earth elements lithium and curium. The work was preliminary, but shows these rocks merit future investigation. A related project looked at coal-bearing rocks in Pennsylvania. Former student Cy Lamberton, mentored by Dr. Winkel Cow and Thomas Hegna, investigated whether clays found beneath coal deposits could serve as domestic source of rare earth elements. Existing infrastructure from decades of coal mining could make these deposits easier and cheaper to access, potentially reducing environmental harm while bringing economic opportunity to communities still recovering from coal's decline. The team found that the original source of sediment did not drive enrichment. Instead, the chemistry of clay minerals themselves may explain it. Understanding this is essential for predicting where the richest layers will be found. Editorial with Lori Cornell. All the cool kids recycle. Is it me, or does anyone else feel the decline in passion for recycling? I'm respectfully aware that I have friends that don't choose to recycle. I love them all the same. I'm also not sitting on a high horse of perfection. I sometimes look at a peanut butter jar and sigh how much work is going to be to clean it, and maybe don't always do the right thing myself. But I feel like at least in my experience, and maybe some of yours, general enthusiasm for recycling is at a concerning low. But I feel like, at least my experience, and maybe yours, general enthusiasm is concerning low. In the past, I believe my conversations about recycling, everyday recycling encounters tended to go something like this. Me, I got a can. Do you have a recycling container I can pitch it in? Store, public location, friend. Answer, yes. Or, oh geez, really should recycle, but I'm sorry we don't have a container. Response 2. Number 2 usually come somewhat sheepishly with the respondent immediately acknowledge that perhaps they weren't upholding a more ideal standard for the environment. Seemingly aware and appreciative of the importance of doing their part to protect the earth. But in recent years, I'm tending to hear more something like this. Me, I've got a can. Do you have a recycled container I could pitch it in? Store, public location, friend. Yes. Less often. Or, we don't do that, just throw it away. Again, maybe it's just me and my travels, but I feel like I seem to be experiencing more and more the response number 2. Confidentially accompanied by excuses as to why recycling is not possible, or in some cases, not that individual's problem, i.e. responsibility, at that given location. Sometimes it's provided with a glance of confusion, a look of bother, or even have been asked. Or even worse, I've witnessed ridicule, accompanied by scoffs and jeers, implying that recycling is useless only for tree huggers and beneath one's time and attention. I could turn this editorial into a major research project as to why I seem to be feeling this way and continue down the path of Debbie Downer, which isn't the purpose of my Gazette, and I won't. But simply say that recycling isn't a political position. It's a human position. We love our environment, we love our community, and it's important for us to take care of it as best we can. So hold your high head and slough off your sneers. Around here, the cool kids recycle. Together, locally, we can do our part in making Chautauqua County strong and sustainable region we love for a long time to come. You are listening to a reading of articles and features from the Chautauqua Gazette and the Niagara Frontier Radio Reading Service. The Miracle of Salvation, featured writer Reverend Luke Fedor, rector, St. Luke Episcopal Church. Some days arrive with trumpets, others slip quietly into our lives and ask to be remembered. Earth Day is often one of those quieter invitations, less spectacle, more summons, like tying a string around a finger or placing a ring on a hand. It calls us back to something we might otherwise forget, that we belong to the earth and earth has been entrusted to our care. At its root, religion is about binding, about what we fasten ourselves to. That binding can feel like burden, even control, but it can also be love, like the bonds we choose to keep because they give life, meaning, and joy. Earth Day holds possibilities before us, anxiety about a fragile world and gratitude for a beautiful one. Spring cleaning then becomes more than a seasonal chore. It is a small liturgy of release. We let go of what clutters and constrains. We make space for light, for air, for life to move again. In doing so, we mirror something of God's own work, bringing order from chaos, renewing the face of the ground, breathing life where things have grown stale. So perhaps this year, as you open your windows and clean your rooms, you might also loosen your grip on the language of obligation. Let it be less about duty and more about freedom. Less about what you have to do and more about what you are invited to do into. A deeper care for the world, a gentler stewardship of your own life, and a quiet joy in tending what has been given. For in the end, that to which we bind ourselves shapes who we become. And to be bound to the earth in love is not a burden, it is a blessing. Everyday Wonders. Celebrate spring with skunk cabbage. Contributing writer Rachel Brown. This humble native plant doesn't ask for much. Give it some mud and a bit of shade, and it can take care of itself. After all, it's been doing just that since dinosaurs roamed the earth, and unlike these lumbering giants, it's still here. Even when winter has quite gotten the message that it's time to go, skunk cabbage begins pushing its way up through the snow and ice to emerge as one of the earliest bloomers here in the Northeast. Using energy stored up in its impressive root system, it can generate its own heat, maintaining internal temperatures up to 70 degrees or 20 degrees warmer than the surrounding air. This helps activate another tool in its toolkit, its unique aroma. This is what really puts the skunk in skunk cabbage. While we humans may not appreciate the smell produced by this feat of natural alchemy, insects most certainly do. Fooled into thinking it must be one of the dead critters they usually feast upon, they are drawn to the crawl inside the spath, The name of the cozy hooded structure protecting the spandex or flower inside and pollinating it in the process. Skunk cabbage survived what was called the fifth mass extinction event, when the majority of life on Earth was wiped out. This was due in part to its remarkable roots, which have the ability to contract and pull the plant deeper into the ground with each passing year. This not only ensures the plant's longevity, but also helps it to stabilize its wetland habitat. I'd call that a win-win. Once the rather bizarre-looking spiky knob that passes for a flower has finished blooming, it forms compartments that are compound fruit. Each of these sections contain seed that ripens and falls to the ground in late summer. Meanwhile, a single spear-shaped bud emerges from the base of the plant. It grows rapidly and unfurls to reveal leaves reaching up to 3 feet in length. As a source of food or medicine for humans, skunk cabbage is not recommended. It has been used in the past to treat headaches, coughs, and cramps, but its calcium oxalate crystals cause an unpleasant burning sensation in the mouth. Its diuretic and laxative effects, however, are appreciated by black bears, helping them to get things moving again after a long winter's nap. In our area, we are fortunate to have many places for skunk cabbage to grow and thrive. Marshes, bogs, streams, ponds, wetlands, and woods around us. Along the long, seemingly endless winter we had, it has felt at times like spring would never come. But a trip to the nearby Bentley Preserve in early March restored my hope. The sight of hundreds of skunk cabbage plants poking through old wet leaves and mud lifted my spirits and reminded me of the cycle of renewal continues. As Henry David Thoreau advised, if you are afflicted with melancholy at this season, go to the swamp and see the brave spares of skunk cabbage buds already advanced toward a new year. They'll see over the brow of winter's hill. They'll see another summer ahead. On this Earth Day, let us appreciate that Earth Day wonders that fill our beautiful planet. Independent Bookstores Day celebrates its 13th anniversary. Featured writer Bob Lingle, owner of Good Neighborhood Bookstore. Good Neighborhood Bookstore in the village of Lakewood comes together with our community to celebrate the 13th anniversary of Independent Bookstore Day and to applaud our fellow independent bookstore owners in Chautauqua County. Mumsman's Books and Genre's Bookstore, both in Westfield, and Next Chapter Bookstore in Fredonia. Unlike big box stores and online vendors, we take pride in our local focus and efforts to know our readers. We foster empathy and work for curating titles for the community that promote understanding, diversity, and creativity. We also stand proudly on the front lines of helping to develop and promote local authors. This year's Indie Bookstore Day will be giving more exciting than ever before in Chautauqua County as we expand our partnership with 25 other bookstores throughout Western New York for the Buffalo Bookstore Passport. Participants can pick up a passport now and enter for a chance to win gift cards, swag, and more. Details on the Buffalo Bookstore Passport can be found at buffalobookstores.bflopa.com. independentbookstores.com. Independent Bookstore Day. Indie Bookstore Day was established in 2013 to promote, celebrate, and highlight the value of independent bookstore community. The day has been observed on the last Saturday of April every year since 2013. This year, there are over 1,600 stores participating across the country. Independent Bookstore Day is organized by the American Booksellers Association, a national not-for-profit trade organization that works with booksellers and industry partners to ensure the success and profitability of independently owned book retailers and to assist in expanding the community of the book. Jeff Winton to speak at League of Women Voters Luncheon, contributed by League of Women Voters of Chautauqua County. The League of Women Voters of Chautauqua County is pleased to be hosting a luncheon which will feature Speaker Jeff Winton, founder and chairman of Rural Minds, the only national 501c3 nonprofit organization that serves as an advocate and informed voice for mental health equality in rural America. Jeff is also the founder and owner of Wall Street Dairy LLC, a working family dairy farm in Chautauqua County. He is the Chief Executive Officer of Jeff Winton Associates, a full-service communications and corporate affairs agency for agriculture and healthcare corporations. As alumnus of Cornell University, he currently serves on the Dean's Advisory Council for the College of Veterinary Medicine and the Advisory Board of NY FarmNet, a Cornell University-affiliated nonprofit organization that helps New York State farm families through educational programming and consulting. The luncheon will be held at the White Inn on Main Street in Fredonia on Wednesday, April 29th at noon. The speaker will be introduced at 12:45. The event is open to the public in addition to all members of the LWV of Chautauqua County being encouraged to attend. League members who wish to make reservations for the optional lunch are directed to the recent Leaguer newsletter sent via email for a coupon to be mailed in with their reservations and payment. The RSVP is requested by April 20th. Non-members who are interested in hearing the speaker and who wish to also make a reservation for the lunch may obtain further information by calling Program Chair Becky Ross at 716-679-8452 or Susan Bigler at 716-203-7241. You have been listening to a reading of articles and features from the April 20th issue of the Chautauqua Gazette. We read from the Chautauqua Gazette on Monday at 8:30 a.m. Your reader has been Donald. Thank you for listening.
You're listening to the Niagara Frontier Radio Reading Service. Radio reading serves people who are blind or have a print disability throughout Western New York and Southern Ontario's Niagara Peninsula. From its broadcast studios at 1199 Harlem Road in Cheektowaga, just north of Clinton Street. Almost 40 years and more than 300,000 hours of radio readings to those unable to read printed matter on their own. Our broadcast signal is provided at no charge by WNED. Volunteer radio readers broadcast daily readings of newspapers, magazines, and books. For more information on the Niagara Frontier Radio Reading Service, call us at 716-821-5555. Good morning. Welcome to another broadcast day in the Niagara Frontier Radio Reading Service, a private not-for-profit organization. As always, please feel free to contact us with your comments, suggestions, and any questions you may have. And please stay with us to read the Buffalo News is coming up next.